All right, welcome everyone. My name is Jakai Harrison. I'm an admissions counselor here at Canisius College. I'm joined by a lovely panel of professors and students here to talk to you about LGBT plus issues here at Canisius. So first off, I just want to introduce Dr. Richard Reitzma, Associate Professor here and Chair of the Spanish Department, and Dr. Josh Russell, Associate Professor here, and also he is the Program Director of the Anthropology Program. Richard, off to you.
So welcome everyone. We just have a short PowerPoint to kind of help guide things. We'll share it with Jakai afterwards. It has links in it for anyone interested that wants to check out those links. So everyone see things good? Yes? Okay. So we're going to just talk a little bit about what LGBTQI+ is like at Canisius as well as at Buffalo. So of course we have Unity, founded in 2002. So we're coming up next year on an anniversary that we will celebrate. They do weekly meetings and host speakers, and there's Pride Week events and many other events, somewhat curtailed this year because of COVID, but they're still doing many things virtually, and Karen and Emma, of course, can talk about that some more at any point. And here we have their webpage and their Instagram. And again, I'll share this with you all, but I'd have to switch screens in a minute to show you those pages, but I will in a minute. Emma, or sorry, Karen, do you want to say anything about Unity since we're on this particular page?
Absolutely. So hello, everyone. My name is Karen. I'm a current junior. I am this year's outreach coordinator for Unity and next year's president. Unity is a club for all students, regardless of how they identify. So we have students who are members of the LGBTQ+ community, as well as allies who come to our meetings, our events. As Richard said, we have weekly meetings in addition to speakers, Pride Week, National Coming Out Week celebrations. And we work with campus ministry on some things that Dr. Reitzman will be covering later. But we really celebrate our pillars, which are advocate, educate, and support. So a vast majority of everything that we do is rooted in those pillars to provide a space for students to express themselves, be a part of a community in which others are like them and have shared experiences, and do work to help advance LGBTQ rights and awareness.
Thank you, Karen. Has Emma joined us as well?
Yes, I have. Hi.
Hi, Emma. Is there anything you want to add as well to the what Karen talked about in terms of Unity?
I think Karen did a really solid job at outlining. I think that another thing that we are very proud of is we also have a pretty active alumni presence from Unity. So on some of our retreats, we have alumni who come and speak, as well as we have alums to make a point of coming back for later in the year, like our lavender graduation. So we work to build connections that go undergraduate and beyond. And so they're not just part of your life.
So I'm glad Emma mentioned the question of alumni. Josh actually is an alum, and he can talk about that some more in a little bit. But Unity has also done some homecoming events, again, pre-COVID. And many of our other events do involve alumni, and it's a pretty strong network that we continue to grow. So Josh, did you want to say anything as an alum about Unity?
No, I was a student at Canisius back when Unity was founded, and so was one of the first students to join it. And it's amazing to see how it's grown. It's one of the few first, I think, GSA types of clubs that started at a Jesuit university way back then. And so it's really great to see how many students are involved in it now and how many events that they do, because we used to just do like a movie night once a semester.
I think, Josh, your point about how much it has grown and its legacy within the Jesuit and Catholic university tradition is important. And I think we'll talk about that in a couple of slides. We also have one of the big events for Canisius LGBTQIA+ community and alums, faculty, and staff is the Aoc Retreat, which has been going almost as long as Unity has been a club, a couple of years fewer. We did it again this year virtually, no, hybrid. It was hybrid, if I recall correct.
Yes, it had virtual and in-person components.
So again, this was something I spoke at and I've attended at in the past, but I would like maybe Emma, Karen, or Josh to weigh in on this particular experience.
Yeah, I would love to. So AOC stands for Always Our Children. It is done through Canisius Campus Ministry in coordination with Unity. It is an event that, generally speaking, we go to Cradle Beach. However, this year, since we are currently in a very different state of affairs than we normally are, it was a one-day long event as opposed to a more than one day event where we travel. So this year we did a hybrid format, but throughout the duration of AOC, we have alums and current students and community members who come and speak on their experiences in accordance with whatever the theme is that year. Generally, we try to align it to the Jesuit pillars, such as Cura Personalis was not this year, but last year, to my awareness that I recall. And we work to build community and connection between students who are present as undergraduate or graduate students, as well as alums, faculty, and community members. And it gives everyone a chance to allow their gender identity and sexuality to align with the Jesuit values that Canisius tries to embody.
Thank you, Emma. Karen or Josh, anything you'd like to add to the experience of AOC?
It was perfectly said, I think.
Okay. It is a lot of fun.
Thanks.
It is a lot of fun in person. I mean, there's a lot of different activities and community building and so forth. It's a good time. So in terms of what Josh had mentioned earlier about LGBTQIA+ in the Catholic and Jesuit tradition, we've participated in previous years in IGQ, Ignatian Q, which is a conference for faculty, staff, and student leaders from within the community hosted at different colleges within the AJCU, the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities. I've been to several of them. We've gone as far as LMU, Santa Clara, Seattle.
Last year was supposed to be Colorado, but again, world events took over.
Yeah, so that's on a bit of a hiatus at the moment. That's always another interesting way to compare how things are at Canisius as opposed to our sister colleges within the Jesuit network. And in that context, Canisius is quite a leader in the things that we do and offer to our communities. And I'm hopeful that this will post-COVID become a thing that we can participate in again. In terms of academics, there are courses that deal specifically or exclusively with LGBTQIA+ issues. I teach one of them called Sex and Politics. I teach it both in Spanish and in English, sometimes in the core, sometimes in the honors core. Josh, Emma, and myself also did a pedagogy seminar about how to include LGBTQIA+ narratives or pedagogical concerns in the classroom. That is going to be on a website that is being built within the Canisius network as a toolkit for teaching these issues. And I know, at least in my case, it comes up in pretty much everything I teach. I make it a part of the things I teach. I know that Josh does as well, and I'm hopeful that other professors do that as well. My research is exclusively, pretty much, well, not exclusively, but primarily on LGBTQIA+ concerns. Josh also, and Josh just published a book about that, and he can talk about that some more. And I also run an LGBTQ+ speakers series, and again, there's a link there that you can see who we've brought. I've brought in, I think in the last decade, approximately 40 people to anything from writers to filmmakers to activists. And they read from their work, they visit classes, they do workshops, and they give lectures. So it's quite robust. This is funded exclusively through donations or grants. It's not funded directly through the college. Josh, I don't know if you want to talk about your research and or courses.
Yeah, I don't have any courses that are explicitly about queer theory or LGBTQ+ issues, but I do incorporate it into all my classes, and my research specifically has involved LGBTQ+ students. We've done work on queer theory. I had 2 students who came with me to a conference in Toronto 2 years ago, and we presented a piece that we were writing, which then became part of my book that is just published as of last weekend, on queer theory and environmental education. So, looking at queer theory and the way in which we apply it to animals and our relationships with animals in the natural world, sexuality, gender identity, all of those things. So we're really proud of that. But that's always at least half of the research projects that I do have to do with that. So, and students do get involved in that undergraduate research in different ways.
Josh, I'm glad you mentioned the undergraduate research, because both Josh and I have worked with undergraduate students. I think you worked through the STEEP program as well, right? Yeah. Which is the Canisius Earning Excellence Program, which pays students to work with us and study stuff and get smarter and do fantastic things. So that's another opportunity for students to get involved with that as well. Then in terms of the larger community here in Buffalo, there's Embrace Western New York, which is, I think, one of the larger LGBTQIA+ focused advocacy social groups here in Buffalo. They do a large fundraiser every year. From that fundraiser, they sponsor a wide variety of activities, including actually a scholarship, which Canisius students have in the past applied for and received. So they're community focused, mostly business people, community leaders, things like that. They, in conjunction with other entities across the city, have in the past hosted social networking happy hours, which you can attend if you are underage, but you can't drink. But they do provide networking opportunities, which can be useful for future internships, things like this. So there's a quite robust network there. Embrace Western New York, in addition to sponsoring some of our Canisius students with scholarships, have also provided funding for some of my speakers series as well. So they're very involved in that regard. There's GLIS Western New York, Growing LGBTQ+ Youth Services. Although I think that tends to be focused to a slightly younger crowd, but that's also available. There's Evergreen Health, which is, by the way, accessible through the metro system here in Buffalo. They provide all levels of healthcare, mental health, housing, HIV, STD testing, you name it, you can be accessed there. They've continued to expand over recent years. They provide social space for networking, counseling, community support, sliding scale treatment, so including people who are concerned about being able to pay for their health care. They provide services for that. There's also a shelter there for people who find themselves homeless within the community. They've recently merged, MOCA has recently merged with them as well. MOCA is also accessible through the subway system here in Buffalo. And that primarily focused on LGBTQIA plus persons of color. It is now associated with Evergreen, but still its own entity. In the past, they have also provided funding for the speakers series. They no longer do that. They've changed their focus in that regard, and but that's down the street from us. And there's also lots of different social groups, obviously on social media, where you can find all sorts of support things, whether that's I mean, you name it, the sports leagues and book clubs and you know, people who just want to go together with LGBTQ friends to the movies or just to make friends. I mean, you name it, there's an interest group that you can find here in Buffalo and the greater.
There's a pretty large group, the Buffalo Gay League as well on Facebook, where they do intramural sports for people in the community all throughout the city.
So there's a lot, and there's also both in print and online, the Western New York Gay Yellow pages for services and associations and so forth. So there's quite a bit that you can find there. So that's the extent of our PowerPoint. If you are interested, I can show you the websites. Would that be useful? I have them all up already. So do we see that?
No, nothing yet.
Yes, no?
Nothing yet. Oh, there.
Nothing. Still see me. Oh, lovely. Is it there?
It has
Okay.
loaded now, yes.
So here is, thank you. So here we have Canisius College Unity webpage. They also have their Instagram channel. Okay, it's asking me to sign in. Whatever. Anyway, and here's information about the retreat, which you can find on the webpage. Information about previous year's Ignatian Q conference. Here's the speaker series. Sorry about that. The speaker series, as you can see here, we've got how many? I don't even know how many slides I've got, but like tons of different people that have come over the years. Here's Embrace Western New York's website. We have GLIS, or we did GLIS website up. Here. And you can see there. All right. And okay, that one load, volunteer, Evergreen, and so forth. I was from overwork my system. So, brief overview of we have here in Buffalo.
Oh, well, we lost him.
Oh, no, we lost him.
He sometimes has difficulty with his Wi-Fi. He should hopefully be back on soon.
Well, Emma, if you can introduce yourself. Karen did her little introduction at the beginning, so if you can go ahead and just introduce, maybe the clubs you're involved in. I know you're the president, your major, your year, things like that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I just got out of work at 6. My name is Emma Switzer. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am the president of Unity on campus. My major is I'm a double in childhood education and special education with a minor and a concentration in music, as well as I've just been accepted to pursue my master's degree for advanced special education through Canisius College. I have been involved in Unity actively as an e-board member since last year and passively as a general body member since my sophomore year.
Thank you. I have a couple questions for the panelists to get it going. You guys, Emma and Karen, you kind of talked about this earlier, but if you can just give us some other things that you both are involved with here on campus, and maybe how your identity or tied into your work here at Canisius, at making Canisius a better place, because you guys are both amazing in the work you guys do.
Sure. So I did not know that I was part of the LGBTQ community until I came to college. I realized about halfway through my freshman year that maybe I wasn't straight after all, and came out that following semester to the people in Unity because of how supportive they were. And they were a great help in me helping to find out my identity and my place within this community. Some other things that I'm involved in is I've been a member of the canine research team since my first semester here. I'm an Aoc, animal behavior, ecology, and conservation major with a dual major in organizational relational communications and minors in anthrozoology and human psychology. So I'm also a member of the Student Interest Committee, which is a branch of our student government. Occasionally I write for the Griffin, which is our school paper. I'm actually publishing an article through them about the recent transgender related legislation that's being proposed and discussed this year. I'm a member of the Women's Club rugby team, and I am also a tour guide on campus. So I keep myself very, very busy, but Unity has always been kind of that constant throughout all of that since I was a general body member from my very first semester and a e-board member since my sophomore year, so last year, and the affirmations through them, the connections through them as well, both for current students and our alumni network, have been a great source of affirmation throughout finding out who I am, both as an LGBT student as well as my own individual.
Karen, hearing you speak is always such a pleasure. You're just such an apt communicator. So I have been involved in a couple other things on campus. I am very, very busy through my education program since I am actively in placements, as well as currently I'm doing my student teaching. I did my honors thesis, so I'm part of the honors program at Canisius as well. And I actually worked with Richard as my primary reader on my honors thesis, which was incorporating LGBTQIA+ practices into classrooms, specifically in childhood, through literature and other means. So that was something that my fall semester in my senior year took up a lot of my time. It was really a wonderful way for me to intersect my identity in the community with my identity as a rising educator and someone who's passionate about advocacy for others. I have also been active through the honors program in terms of participating through a STEEP grant with the Educational Technologies program, as well as being involved on campus through other means. I'm part of the Commuter Students Association. I'm just kind of a passive general body member there. I'm also was part of the education club on campus, and I have also worked on campus with campus ministry pretty frequently. I did an international service volunteering the summer of 2019, the summer of 2020, I did so virtually. So I went for 3 weeks in the summer of 2019 to Poland and worked at an orphanage there. And in the summer of 2020, I taught virtual English lessons for 3 weeks, one-on-one with students to accommodate the coronavirus pandemic.
You guys are heavily involved. You guys are all stars here on campus. This question, Josh and Richard, if you guys would like to answer or take this one. What are the college efforts in terms of addressing some of the issues that affect, people and students here on campus and faculty and staff who identify as part of the community?
Uh, um, I find that one must advocate for oneself in order for these things to happen. I have been at Canisius a decade. It was not always an easy fit at the beginning. It was a process of demonstrating that the world was not coming to an end if I did LGBTQ things publicly. That took some learning on behalf of the institution, but I will say that they support the efforts I've done. I've done the speaker series for a decade now, for example. I did a dean's colloquium talk on LGBTQ issues in the Caribbean that was well received. We get good attendance at our events. But I think that support is there when we ask for it, demand it, need it. I will say that my hiring was because I was LGBTQ. That was said to me directly when I was offered the job. So I think that there are conscious efforts on the part of the college to acknowledge the community and support the community. When I was first here, and I don't remember, Josh, if this was still a thing when you joined the faculty, but we did have a faculty staff caucus. It was mostly like a support group for faculty and staff. It lived through its purpose, and I don't remember how many years we had it, maybe 3 years. So I guess it predates when Josh joined the faculty, but we had that. There are currently a lot of changes at the college in terms of both faculty and staff. It remains to be seen how the college will continue to address our community's needs. I have been vocal and advocating for continued administrative support and involvement at all levels, from student life through academics. I do believe people listen, and I am hopeful that these support these and program continue. Josh?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I mean, I think, Richard and I as faculty have really tried to help students in the past who want to bring up issues to administration as well. So a few years ago, there were a couple students who were really wanting to push for more gender neutral bathrooms to be present on campus. That's something that we're still trying to work on, but Richard and I were able to sort of amplify their voices to some administrators, and got a little bit of progress on that. So it's like anywhere, you kind of have to figure out who your strongest allies are and who are the people that can help you get your concerns heard. But we do at Canisius have a strong tradition of our undergraduate students, especially students in Unity, really bringing new ideas and trying to push the college forward. And so as faculty, we really help that out. And then Emma and Richard and I, like Richard said before, did a session this winter on pedagogy and ways to teach and think about and incorporate queer issues or queer theory, or even just to ways to talk to students who may be a part of the community. And that was pretty well attended. And, we've been working with our Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Fatima, to continue to build that out a little bit. So that's some ongoing things there.
I think it's important to have out and active LGBTQ faculty. I think it's important that those faculty be in communication also with the student body, like Unity, as well as with administration. I think that as in any institution, the different parts need to constantly talk to each other. I'm glad to have Josh help me talk to people, because it's challenging work to continue to move any institution in the right direction, and Canisius is no exception to that. So,
Thank you both for your honest answers. This can be for Emma and Karen. Richard and Josh, you guys can jump in as well. I also, as a former student, can jump in and answer this question at the end just to see if I have anything else to add. But what are some services on campus for students who, I know Unity's there, I know Richard and Josh are there to talk to, for students who identify in the community?
Yeah, so we have the counseling center available to all students, as well as there was an LGBTQIA+ specific support group for group therapeutic sessions. That was fairly well attended to my awareness. I believe that it was full, and that went through the counseling center, as well as there are several of the counselors who are active allies and participants in Unity events whenever possible, to make sure that there is a face for mental health for us to be supported that is on campus and very easily accessible. Like Richard said, there is also accessibility to Evergreen for connection to further health services in terms of health, safety, and well-being for students who are LGBTQI+. Through campus ministry, there are active allies present there as well. Caitlin Buellman has been an extremely strong and positive source of allyship for us consistently. She attends AOC as an ally. She educates herself to the best of her ability and is someone who works hard to connect us with anyone who can also be beneficial to us in terms of faith through the Jesuit mission, as well as service. There are also several other professors aside from Richard and Josh who are allies to the community, including I've had a lot of strong allyship through Dr. McNally, who is the current head of the honors program, as well as Dr. Lawrence, who is one of our religious studies professors. And so there are active allies and supports present all over on campus if you know where to look, and if you're willing to, like Richard was emphasizing, advocate for yourself. And Josh was talking about making sure that student voices are amplified. So they are always also extremely valuable resources to say, hey, I don't know where to go next to do what I need to do. Can you help me?
Our website actually features an entire page about resources that has various links and information to things. So like Emma was saying, the Canisius Counseling Center, we also have a Canisius bias reporting system where students can make bias reports that can be anonymous if they want. And they acknowledge that bias can be related to gender, gender identity, gender expression, sex, sexual orientation, and so on. We also make an effort to incorporate members of the Canisius community in with our events and meetings. So we've had, like Emma said, people from the counseling center attend our meetings, but we'll also have, for example, in March, we had a meeting about advocacy where we invited Dr. Reitzman to come, but also Miss Fatima, who is the director of our diversity and equity and inclusivity department, as well as Dr. Larson, who is the director of the graduate PA program, and Chief Beatty, who is the head of our on-campus public safety office. So we make a very conscious effort to include members of our Canisius community in that, so that you have not only the resources that are built into the Canisius system for all students, but also a very conscious and deliberate list and resource of people on campus who can serve as those resources for you.
Great. Yes. No. Just to add, as a former student here, someone who is heavily involved in Unity during my time here, I can also echo everything Emma and Karen said about there is always someone you can talk to, whether it's a counseling center, whether it's Richard or Josh. I know Dr. Aaron Robinson in the sociology department has been amazing to me over my time here as a student and now as a staff member. So there's always someone here who's willing to, it's there for you to talk to you whenever you need someone to be there for you. All right, this is also another question for Emma and Karen. You guys talked about it a little bit about, but some club programming that you guys do in terms of Unity. Some of your amazing, some of your pillar events, your big events during the year, if you guys want to touch on some of those.
Yeah, so every year we celebrate National Coming Out Week. Previously, we had stretched out into a several-day event. In more recent years, we have decided to consolidate it into one larger event to incorporate more members of the campus community and push more of our budget towards programming that pulls people from all facets of campus life in. We had an event last year where we worked with the fraternity on campus, whose name escapes me currently. It was a month. Pardon me?
SIGAP.
Thank you. I like, woo. We did a Halloween dance called Monster Mash, where we coordinated with them in their usual haunted house, and we had dancing and hanging out and a costume party, and that was one of our larger events as well. We've also previously had drag education nights where we've had local drag queens and kings come in and speak to us about the drag culture, the drag community specific to Buffalo, as well as existing as an individual, whether or not they are straight in their day-to-day life, as well as some of the stereotypes that accommodate being a drag king or being a drag queen. There's a panel for questions, which is very, very informative. And we usually get pretty good attendance for that as well. Our bigger event in the spring semester is our Pride celebration, where we generally get outside and we try to do something where we're pulling more students in, again, from all facets of campus life. Last year we had an ice cream truck. This year I believe that we're hoping for something similar again, where we do things to celebrate people who have been impactful for us as a community, as well as celebrate ourselves as a community. We are also an institution that participates in Lavender graduation, which is a tradition of universities honoring the LGBTQIA+ community and allies to the community as they're graduating college and as they're moving forward in their lives for their achievements as an LGBTQIA+ individual or ally while they were an undergraduate or graduate. We did honor some of our graduates last year, and after the pandemic, we are also honoring some of our graduates from last year since we didn't have the opportunity to do so as much. And then we just have weekly meetings as well, and we try to pull in themes of education and advocacy, as well as doing things that are fun and entertaining to bring people together as a community.
I'll also add one more of our bigger events is held in the fall, usually around mid-November, which is our Transgender Day of Remembrance, which we host in collaboration with campus ministry, which is held in remembrance of our transgender siblings who have been lost in the past year due to anti-transgender violence or hate for their identities. So we work very closely with campus ministry to provide a reflective and honoring space for that.
I believe you brought up earlier about the advocacy you guys are doing on some of the trans bills that are moving through some of the state legislations. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more?
Sure. So I am working with the Griffin, which is our campus student newspaper. And I'm going to be writing an article for them that will be published for this Friday that will discuss the different kinds of legislation that is being passed. So there are kind of three main types. And then the states that are doing those, what those implications are, why they're unfounded, the criticisms of those, as well as what we as students can do and as constituents of the lawmakers who are proposing these bills. And this is going to be my second paper this year, specifically focused around LGBT issues. I did one last semester regarding National Coming Out Day. So working with the newspaper has been a great resource to get kind of our ideas out into the broader Canisius network. I've had admin, faculty, staff, my professors talk to me after class and say, hey, I read your article. I didn't know about all that stuff. It was really interesting and I learned something new, which I think is a great avenue for us to continue that advocacy. And it will talk about advocacy in the article as well. And then we as a e-board for our club will likely be discussing ways that we could help and bring in those Jesuit values of social justice.
Karen has also been in coordination with the Undergraduate Student Association Justice Committee. There is lost the word for it. There's a movement that they have done where there are free pads and tampons available in the women's bathrooms, although that is sporadic, and we're also working on that. And Karen has been really pushing and being an extremely strong advocate for making sure that that is available in the men's bathrooms on campus as well, and creating educational signage to go along with that so that it causes people to pause and go, oh, there are individuals using this bathroom who are men and who may need these products, and it is where they belong. And it is also absolutely justifiable and necessary for us to advocate for our fellow individuals to have the dignity and support that they need to be as comfortable as humanly possible.
And USA have been staunch allies and supporters of all of that. Every communication I've had with them has not been a, let me convince you that we need this. It's been more of a, hey, I would like to get this done. Let's work together on have it happen. So it's definitely not a fight to get these things to happen. With our Undergraduate Student Association, they've been really great collaborators and allies of our mission.
Someone who worked hard to get that going as an undergrad here, I am so happy that that still is happening, and that we're still fighting to get more and to, you know, both bathrooms and even in some of our gender neutral bathrooms. So that's great. Karen, you talked about it a little bit more again earlier, but how this is for the whole panel. How have the Jesuit values impacted your experience here at Canisius, and as you and your identity here walking the halls of Canisius? Emma, do you want to start? Or Karen, you unmute it, you can go as well.
I am not religious, so I was very surprised when I came to Canisius and was convinced to go on a campus ministry retreat, and then loved it so much that I came back the next year and helped lead it. And so the Jesuit values have become something that are very important to me, regardless of my own religious affiliation. The Jesuit values, in case you are unfamiliar, they involve things such as men and women with and for others, very kind of service-based and advocacy. Cura personalis, which means care for the whole person, making sure that your mind, body, and spirit are all well cared for. The name of that initiative that Emma spoke about putting menstrual products in the bathrooms is called Cura personalis, period. And so that's one of them. Magis, always striving for more. And so I found the Jesuit values to be very affirming for these issues, because it comes down to being there for other people and taking care of yourself and making sure that you are well cared for so that you can go forward and help others. And I think that that's what a community is. And at the end of the day, the LGBT community is just that. And we rely on each other to help pick each other up and provide that support. And so I think that in my experience, Canisius has been a phenomenal advocate for those values, and students are phenomenal at taking those values and applying them to our own lives and missions, and making sure that we support others, especially those who are members of marginalized communities such as the LGBTQ+ one.
I think that to add to that, and I love that, Karen, again, hearing you speak is a pleasure. There is a quote that is up in Science Hall that I associate regularly with the Jesuit mission, which is to go forth and set the world on fire. And something that Canisius has given me as an individual is the strength and motivation, as well as the education to advocate for myself as an individual, as well as the community that I feel extremely happy and proud to be a part of. And it has been a big part of why I've chosen to do more advocacy work for the community, as well as within the profession that I'm choosing to pursue, which is childhood education. And it has taught me over time that not only am I capable of fulfilling myself to the best of my ability, as long as my core values are taken care of through Care Personalis and through Magis and always striving for more, but it allows me to go forward and create those changes and start things in places where I might not have had the motivation to do so otherwise, and involve myself in communities that I might otherwise not have been as aware of. And it has created a motivated individual out of me to use my education and use my privilege and use the background of alums, as well as the background of Unity and my curriculum at Canisius, to create the most well-rounded, educated individual that I can be, to advocate for myself and for people who might not have those same strengths and those same privileges.
Josh, do you have anything to add about the answer?
No, I mean, I'm an undergrad, I graduated undergrad at Canisius in 2003. And, you know, some of those same values were sort of instilled in me then, and trying to think about, you know, some of the intersections or like the multiple ways in which people are impacted as members of our community. And so really trying to just have that kind of work through everything that I do, whether I'm teaching or doing research, or we have to do a lot of service as faculty members on different committees and things. And so, you know, that's kind of the backbone of what I do. And I know that's the same for Richard. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Richard, do you have anything to add, or did they cover it all?
They pretty much covered it. I will say, like Karen, I'm not religious and I did not grow up in a Catholic environment, but the Jesuit values espoused by the college are things I deeply believe in from a humanist perspective, in particular the social justice aspect. And that does inform everything I do, both in terms of my research, the trips abroad that I do, the speakers series, the Borders and Migration series. And I will also say that, to my surprise, when I came to Canisius, the campus ministry cohort at that time, many of whom are since retired and gone, but the campus ministry was probably my staunchest supporters, allies, and people who welcomed me, and I did not expect that, and that continued throughout my time and during this last decade. And so I believe in the values, they reflect the things I do, and encourage the advocacy that I do, and we're fully supported by the people in campus ministry, particularly when I first got here.
Thank you all for that. Those lovely answers. Steph actually has the last question for this evening. Steph, take it away.
Sure. So I'm just kind of wondering, what advice do you guys have for students who are still deciding on what colleges they want to attend?
That's a good one. I think for me, my biggest thing is to ask questions. You know, if you have concerns or doubts about whether or not there will be a community available for you where you are going, regardless of whether it is in terms of what you want to pursue as a profession, your gender identity, your sexuality, asking questions not only of the people who are chosen to represent that college from a marketing standpoint, but also asking questions of people who are present and introducing yourself. You know, I know on college tours that I have taken previously, as well as the ones that I'm familiar with at Canisius, they always walk past student club rooms as well as walk past active students, and to step outside of your comfort zone and introduce yourself and create a sense of community for yourself to walk into, as well as asking honest questions, because the best way to be sure that you're making the right decision is making sure that you have every aspect of information that you can, as well as doing research on things that are important to you. So if it's important to you to know that the employment rate for someone within your degree is high, go online and research it from those colleges and reach out, and admissions can connect you to people who are tour guides or who are active members of that major, who can let you know what it's like from a student standpoint, as well as faculty who can share with you from a faculty standpoint what that might look like for them. So asking questions for me would be the biggest piece of advice I could say.
As a tour guide, I get this question a lot. For me, I would say that identify what it is that your values are. You know, you already know whether you want to go to a large school or a small school. Most likely you are pretty sure maybe what it is that you want to major in, or even if you don't know the exact major and department, you at least know the general area, whether it's sciences or humanities. So you're already on the road to figuring that out. But what I wasn't really told when I was doing my undergraduate search was different colleges value different things, and they put that forward. And so for me, I wanted a school that would value me as an individual, where my professors would know me by name within the first couple weeks and put me in contact with those who could give me opportunities like research from my first semester. I'll say, again, I joined research my first semester. I have an internship this summer that came as a result of my professors knowing who I was, not only in the classroom, but also outside of it. For me, social justice and helping others and community service are some of the biggest things to me. We have classes where part of your grade is doing community service. It's our service learning component. And so, you know, those Jesuit values, the values of being involved, those hands-on learning, those are things that you can ask about, that Emma said, you know, ask questions. So find out where it is that your values, where your priorities lie. And once you figure out what it is that you are looking for, not only in your academic education, but also in your own personal growth, you'll be able to find those colleges that allow you those opportunities and point you in those directions, and who foster that same culture that it is that you're looking for.
Richard, Josh, anything else to add?
I mean, you know, the thing, I've taught at a lot of different kinds of schools, large and small, private and public. The thing about a place like Canisius is that because of its size and its values, you have greater access to your professors and greater access to support and the cura personalis that was mentioned earlier, in ways that are as academic or personal. You know, particularly if you are more involved, you know, in certain clubs, but it's a place that you can reach out and be listened to and heard. And I think that makes it different than many of the other educational environments I have worked in.
No, I agree. I don't have anything to add.
Oh, well, I just want to thank all of our panelists for being here. I think this is going to be very informative to our prospective students and making their decision. They have about a week and a half left before that deadline. So hopefully, you know, they take all this in and, you know, recognize that maybe Canisius is a place for them, and it's a place where they can get heavily involved with, you know, here on campus. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and yeah, have a great day, great evening. It's 7 o'clock. Have a great evening, everyone.